Yo, what's up, everyone? Uh, Good morning from Korea, and welcome to another weekly update. I'll just start with a quick uh, update on what I've been doing the last couple weeks, or last week rather, and then I'll take any questions that I see in chat. Hey, first update is hey, we got to number 20. People have been signing up for the course now, even though I've not really been marketing it. People have been signing up for the course now because it's getting closer to the August SAT. We have just under 1 month, 4 weeks left before the August SAT. So if you are also interested in kind of learning the techniques that I use in my streams, you know where to go. The link to the website is down here somewhere, over here. Now, what have I been doing in the last week? I think the big thing is, and this is not I think, this is very obviously the big thing. I my Me and my team, so the developer and I, we launched sort of a functioning version of the SAT practice test review app that I wanted to develop, and did a lot of testing, hammering out some of the kinks, and it's kind of far from where I want it to be, but um, it's a good start. We have something that works, so that's really cool. Now, I'm gonna spend today kind of testing it even more and figuring out what to change in it, because the experience when I had some of my students in my classes kind of run their way through it. I also had another teacher friend work their way through it. It it showed a lot of obvious flaws to me, so I'm gonna hammer some of those out um, in the next couple of weeks. But I think it makes sense, yeah, to just stick with the plan, which is to release it before the August SAT. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm just not feeling that feeling right now, because maybe because I'm a little sleep deprived, but it's exciting to have the app kind of in a functional state. So that's the big update. The other update, which is more of a minor one, is I started a TikTok account, which you can find here. I should just share it. Give me a sec. What's my TikTok account? Okay, so I have a TikTok account here. I've been making kind of harder jokes. I don't think people understand my jokes. It's too hard. So I think I'll have to do easier jokes from now on. But yeah, I mean, I'm using jokes as a excuse right now to teach grammar. And here I'll actually show it to you. Here's the one that I think is the most successful. Wait, I need a.
Bark barking, the dog's playing. A bark, correct. Bark barking, the dog's playing in an orange cat. A bark, correct. Bark barking, the dog's playing in an orange cat that is yowling loudly outside the US DOJ headquarters. A bark, correct. Bark barking, the dog's playing in an orange cat that is meowing loudly outside the US DOJ headquarters where Pam Bondi's files definitely do not contain a client list. A bark, correct. Bark barking, the 112 dogs blank Add an orange cat that is meowing loudly outside the US DOJ headquarters where Pam Bonnie's files definitely do not contain a client list. Have gone quiet. A bark. Incorrect.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of janky. I kind of was embarrassed by that video, but I didn't really have a lot of time to edit that, so so I just posted it. But yeah, I think I see why that format works. If any of you have like, if you any of you have like, what do you call it? Feedback for me, I'd love the feedback. Um, in this case, the feedback I'd be curious about is comparative. Like if you watch this one and this one and this one, what is good or what is not good about these three videos, or what makes one video better than the other. If you have any of that feedback, would be really helpful for me. But that's it for the yeah. So I started that actually the previous week, like almost 2 weeks ago, and this last week I was just I was just so busy and sleep deprived. I tried to write TikToks in the middle of the week during lunch breaks, but God, it was just I just did not have the gas left in my tank to just be able to do that while doing my classes and also working at night. And I think I had my first kind of day off yesterday in like a week, but that day off was still doing a bunch of errands. So it wasn't really like I still had things to do. It wasn't totally relaxed. Um, so yeah, I'm managing to stay sane, but it's been tough. But the good thing is I have a functional version of the app that I think is on track to being released before the August SAT. I have a TikTok channel that now, with the help of an intern, I think I'll be able to cross post to what do you call it, to YouTube and Instagram. But it's just stressing me out just saying that because of how busy I am right now. And 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 yeah, I've just been busy. I've been busy. I've been just teaching a lot. So that's the update. All right, and let's go to a Reddit post that I just spent almost 30 minutes on, and then I'll answer some questions here. Wait, what happened to the post? Okay, I have to find it. I might I might be being extra salty just because I'm like sleep deprived, but I just wrote this while waiting for this stream to start. I'm like sleepy dudes. Anyway, here's a question. And I wrote a long answer, and I think it's just, since I wrote it, might as well publicize it. I also think it's a very good way to learn. I wrote a long answer, so this long answer is going to help you guys learn how I approach the reading and writing tests. So here we go. Help with a reading question from College Board. Hey everyone, this is supposed to be an easy question, but I don't really get how they got to the answer. This is College Board. Microbes that live in shallow lakes and ponds produce methane, a harmful greenhouse gas. Oh, that's bad. Ecologist Ralph Aben and his team want to see how different types of shallow water plants might affect the amount of methane that escapes into the atmosphere. Okay, we want to probably reduce that. Aben's team set up some water tanks in with soil and microbes from local ponds. Okay, we got the microbes. They're gonna produce the methane. Some tanks had an underwater plant that grows in soil called water milfoil. Other tanks had a floating plant called duckweed, or they had algae, which is, I don't even know if that's a plant or not. Okay. Duckweed and algae had higher levels of methane than water milfoil. This finding suggests that A, the presence of some kinds of water plants like water milfoil helps prevent methane from escaping shallow lakes and ponds. B, shallow lakes and ponds release more methane than deeper bodies of water because shallow bodies of water usually have more plants than deep bodies of water. C, shallow lakes and ponds are more likely to contain algae than to contain either water milfoil or duckweed. D, having a mix of algae, underwater plants, and floating plants is the best way to reduce the amount of methane in shallow lakes and ponds. The correct answer is supposed to be A. Apparently that's very strange. Lower levels of methane release does not necessarily mean it prevents methane from escaping, right? Okay. Oh, that's such a huge jump. Oh my God. Jeez. That I cannot take credit for that. Right? You did all that. That's a 220-point jump. That's all you, brother. Or sister. I don't know how to parse Indian sounding names, but hey, awesome, and congratulations. I'll come back to other questions in a sec. Anyway, I wrote a long reply to this one because the two people who answered before me said it's a terrible question, it's a shitty question, and I'm like, what? I remember specifically being a little confused on this question when I first read it, when I wasn't used to the digital SAT. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. But it is not a shitty question at all. I'm going to actually just show it to you. And if you really want to solve it, you should pause the video and then catch up on the stream later. But here is the question. And it is not shitty. And these students telling other students that a College Board written question is shitty is not it. Okay. Now, these two students are saying that it's a shit question, so you need to just eliminate B, C, and D. And what happened? Wait, this person didn't explain D actually. Oh yeah, no, I did explain D. Yeah, no. This person's actually explanation was correct. Um, this person's explanation of the answer choices being wrong is correct. This is actually a pretty good explanation of the answer choices being wrong, but the idea that A is the only possible answer and just a bad answer is wrong, and I'll get to that in a second. This person is just, I don't know, just riding the coattails, not really adding anything. Okay, so this is mine. And this is a very basic structure, and you'd be surprised that just learning this one structure will help you actually on like maybe 2 or more questions that are not easy. Okay, it will help you on 2 or more questions that are not easy on your next practice test because of how basic the structure is, how repeatable the structure is. We get it all the time. Very basic. Learn this and your reading score should jump up by at least 20 points. Well, it depends on where you are. If you're in the 700s though, you probably kind of depends on you actually. But if you're in the 600s, your reading score will jump up by 20 points just by paying attention to the next thing I'm about to say. And if you're in the 700s, maybe 10 points. Okay? Here we go. It's not a terrible question. It's basic experiment design. You don't need to eliminate B, C, and D to get A if you know basic experiment design. The other commenters had to eliminate B, C, and D because they don't know basic experiment design. Although actually that first commenter does seem to kind of get it. Was just almost there, but it wasn't quite there. All right. Map of the passage. If you actually read the passage sentence by sentence, I'm almost breaking it down sentence by sentence. But this shallow lakes and ponds, I'm going to turn that into SLP. They actually call it shallow water as well in the passage, but I'm going to go with SLP. So whenever you see SLP, just assume that's shallow lakes and ponds. SLP microbes cause methane escape. How does SLP plant type affect methane escape. Now, there's a little bit of background here, which is that methane escape is a bad thing. Experiment design. Let's measure methane escape in 3 groups. Group 1, underwater SLP plants. Group 2, floating SLP plants. Group 3, no description, it's algae. Now, I think a biology major might be able to confirm for me that algae is not a plant. In that case, the group itself would just be algae, but I don't know for sure, so I'm just going to leave it as no description, because that is grammatically true. There was no description of algae, it just is algae. Okay, result. Explicitly written in the passage, it says that duckweed and algae increased methane escape over water milfoil, which means implicitly water milfoil obviously had less methane escape, stopped methane escape compared to duckweed and algae. Okay. So in this case, by the way, the general background knowledge, we don't want methane to go into the air. It's bad. So the findings suggest that. And at this point, what are you supposed to do? Okay, and actually let me show this back. Let me show the passage back to you now that I broke down the map for you. Let's not look at the answer choices. Just look at this part right here. If you're reading this in real time and you're structuring the experiment clearly in your head in real time, okay, you will not get confused by the correct answer A, because what's happening here? You have a map, and now that you get to this sentence, this finding suggests that you're going to be a good 600 and not even 650. I guess this question could be maybe like 630. You're going to be a good 630 level reader, and you're going to remember that this team had a question, and you're going to be like, oh, my job is to answer the question. How do different types of plants affect the amount of methane? So you actually can have a prediction. What type of plant was the best for the environment? Water milfoil was the best for the environment because water milfoil reduced the levels of methane escaping into the air. Okay, so then you say, just give me an answer statement. Give me a statement in response to this question, which is, how do different types of SLP plants affect the amount of methane that escapes? So your prediction is, the dumb answer is, eliminate B, C, and D for, and it's funny because eliminating B, C, and D, you actually kind of have to be smarter. I actually think for some of those answer choices, B, C, and D are kind of harder to eliminate than 630 level. Like, I think you can predict this with unlimited time, with no time pressure, with no crappy test taking technique. If you're just chill and following my instructions, at a 630 level, you should be able to get this correct just right away. Let me think about which one's kind of harder. I guess, actually, no, never mind. None of them are particularly hard to eliminate. My bad, I was misremembering. I think they're all like below 630 level to eliminate. So actually, if you are scoring around 600, maybe 580, I think, you're just at the area, you're like, hang on, let me think, 580? Like there are a couple moves in this question that makes it a little harder. So I would say if you're like at the 580 level, I can completely understand why you end up eliminating B, C, and D, and then kind of choosing A and just hoping it's kind of right, even though it feels a little off. Prevent, right? Feels a little off. I get it. But by the time you're 630 level, you really need to just see the structure. Like, you can't be a baby anymore, You should just see the structure. So the structure is this, right? And you should be able to say something like, how does SLP plant type affect methane escape? Oh, well, underwater plant type decreases better than floating plant type, right? That should be a prediction. like I don't really know what to do about algae because I'm not a biology major. I don't have that background knowledge, so I don't really know what to say about algae. But algae doesn't even have to be in my prediction. My prediction could just be the underwater SLP plant type is better, and then it literally just says that. And then prevent methane from is the part that the kid here was kind of confused on. But lower levels does not necessarily mean it prevents methane from escaping, but it does. It's an experiment. It's a controlled experiment. If there's something in the underwater plants there's some mechanism with the underwater plants that means that the other plants don't prevent it, and the underwater plants do prevent it somehow, because that's the whole point of the experiment. The whole point of the experiment is to compare everything controlled except for that one difference, which is the plant type. So, yeah, I would say you should be able to match the correct answer. If you follow my strategy, you should be able to match the correct answer without eliminating B, C, and D. And going back to the big picture, I guarantee you guys, if you're in the 600 levels right now, if you just slow down, map the passage out, make a prediction, and match on this with this particular structure, okay, this particular structure, which is just experiment design, guys, experiment design. There's a question, we have the design, and then we have the results, and now you have to make a sort of inference based on it. Guys, just go back to the question. This will improve your score by 20 points if you're just calm about it and you actually identify the moments when you can use this. It will improve your score by 20 points literally on your next practice test if you're in the 600s level, and it should improve your it should or could improve your score by 10 points if you're in the 700s. Although if you're in the 700s, you should have already mastered this. So like, why are you still getting this wrong? It kind of depends on where you are. Okay, so this is real basic question structure. All right, let's go back to Viom's questions. But by the way, if you're watching this, guys, you're welcome to just ask questions. Here we go. Viom says, hey, question, hard logical reasoning. The heck? Oh, you have a question? Yeah. I mean, send it over. I mean, I would. No one's asking any questions, dude. You should just spam the chat. Okay, no other questions right now, so I'm just gonna kill some time by scrolling Reddit. I have no idea what you're asking me to do. Can you? Okay. I see. Okay. By the way, guys, I am gonna go in about 5 minutes. So if you have any questions to ask me, you should stop. Like, you should not wait, because I'm leaving soon. I can answer one of those. I don't think I can answer both. Here we go. SAT practice test 8. Practice test 8. What's the easiest way to look at this? Give me a sec. Oh no, I don't have that in my database yet because I'm very far behind on stuff. Neeraj, yes, it does. It's not. It's a little high level still, but it does. I want to eventually have an intermediate level set of video lessons that are literally just question type after question type after question type. But right now, it's at the very highest level where I talk about concepts like prediction and match and defend, and I talk about the concepts, and then I use different question types for those concepts. So the way it's structured right now is Unit 1 is predict and match versus process elimination, and I go over every single question type on that one. Okay? Then in Unit 2, I talk about defend, and for defend, I also go over every single question type on that one if I remember correctly, except for grammar. Then Unit 3, I talk about triangling the transitions, and I mostly focus on craft and structure question types and a little bit of inference. Then in Unit 4, which is threading the characters, mostly I talk about data, inference, and findings, like evidence, command of evidence, textual is what's technically called, but I call it evidence finding because it's about empirical findings. So data, fi- findings, and inference are the ones I mainly cover in that one, I think. Although I might do a little bit of cross text on that one. I actually don't remember which questions go into that particular unit. So uh, every unit has a different kind of spread of question types that they focus on, where the first two units really do focus on basically all question types except for grammar. Uh, this course does not really cover grammar. I'm just doing too many things right now, but I really want to build a grammar unit, and I also really want to build a sort of question type by question type unit. So yes, and yes, it will have access to the app by August SAT. At least I want to launch 2 weeks before the August SAT, so you'll have something to work with. But unfortunately, I won't be able to. Like, I'm US based. I'm not like I'm not China or India based, so. I can't do the same thing that OnePrep is doing. OnePrep is doing something extremely illegal. I can't follow OnePrep, so you're not going to be able to have access to like, um, you know, like the College Board materials and like the Princeton Review materials on my app because I am U.S. based. I could get sued. Um, so I have to write the practice test for the app, and I'm very behind on it right now. But I'm gonna make it happen. Okay, I don't know how. I'm actually a little stressed out about it, but I'm gonna make it happen. Now, going back to Viom. Let me answer your question, but it's gonna take me a couple seconds to bring it up because I need to find it. Okay, so give me a sec. I mean, because if you could like, is there a link where I could find it? But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna watch it from my YouTube video. Okay. Okay, and I'm skipping over to ooh. Yeah, I'm no longer a premium user because I found it very annoying. Okay, we're on question 18, I think, for module 2, I assume. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm just looking at this real quick, and oh, verb. So actually, it's so funny. I showed a TikTok that's literally about this. Um, I literally. Oh, dude. Yeah, you got to be more clear. All right. I'll still do this one video, one question. Okay. SAT test 8 question. Okay. I'll do this. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one is it requires a longer lecture. I probably should do a longer video for this one. I'm gonna do a very fast run through because I don't know your level, bro. If you are not 700 and if you haven't hit 730 yet, you honestly need to sacrifice this question. Oh, wow, you're right there. Okay, right. Um, well, great. Great. 730 is that really awkward period now where this question I would consider this like an 800 level, 790, 800 level question. This question is for you like the kind of the Midas touch, where if you touch it, you will turn to gold and it will freeze you up, and you will end up performing worse on the rest of the test because you spent so much time on this question because you're 730. Okay. Um, so this is the kind of question for your level. I would strongly recommend trying to solve it using my techniques with unlimited time. Okay? Not during the real test. During the real test, you should kind of like figure out that it's really hard and sort of just guess and move on. And you should happily sacrifice it because it's 790, 800 level. It's like way beyond you. Okay? It's beyond your level for the real test. But with unlimited time, you should try to practice the techniques that I talk about, identifying transitions, identifying threads, blah, 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 and then drawing logic chains. And you're going to realize, and I'm going to do it for you because I don't think you know my techniques, but this is that level of question where where if you do know my techniques, you actually should not hear this explanation. You should skip this video. You should stop this video and you should just try to use the techniques with unlimited time to figure out the answer on your own. It is excruciating. This is painful. Okay? It's a very hard question. But anyway, with that whole disclaimer out of the way, let me explain. I am not gonna work through this the way I do in like a full lecture, because in the full lecture I explain like, all right, you read one sentence, what's the next move, right? I kind of go step by step. I'm not gonna do step by step. It's gonna take too long. Okay, I'm gonna assume you already know the answer, and I'm just explaining the answer. Okay, that's all I'm doing right now, which is much easier and much shorter. Okay. Here is the biggest problem that people, and even me, I struggle to figure out what the hell is going on. I think I got it correct on the stream. Okay, I think I got it correct on the stream when I saw it. But the biggest thing is I am pretty good at figuring out that head is anterior and tail is posterior. And in the real stream, I didn't really remember that the trunk was in the middle. So actually it goes from head to trunk to posterior. Okay, this part I did more or less on stream, except for the trunk part. But now, what's the next step? People if you are a 700 level reader, you should be able to see the anterior connection and the posterior connection, and you should be able to say head and tail, and then you should be able to take that head and go to headless. And so those are the words where at a 700 level, you should notice those words and you should be confused as fuck. Like that is normally what happens. That's fine. That is normal. Okay? Even at a 750 level, being that confused is normal. Now, what's the breakthrough? The breakthrough is realizing, okay, let me remind myself of this question. You have to realize that the general hypothesis, the assumption is that C stars started from bilateral and then evolved to headless. Okay, so now let's actually let's break down that assumption. If we go with bilateral, it means that a C star originally had a head, a trunk, and a tail. But then it went to headless, as in it went to just trunk and tail. Now, this is the part where I think with unlimited time, I realized kind of what that might look like. But what does a C star look like? It looks like a center with legs, right? So mentally, I think it's intuitive. Oh, the center is the trunk, and this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these were all kind of like legs, but then they kind of splayed out, and now it's just all, tails rather. These are like tail. This is like the bottom of the animal, but they kind of splayed out and became all legs. And that is all tail rather. All tail, all posterior. And maybe the head just sort of shrunk, and then just went away or something like that. And that's the way it evolved. So now it's just 5 tails, 1 trunk, no head. Okay? That would be the assumption about the C stars. Okay. But what do we find? We only find activity in anterior genes. So the head is the head genes are very busy. Meanwhile, some posterior are limited to the edges. So there's a little bit of tail on the edges of the C star. Okay. What does this suggest? Your prediction at a very basic level is now that you have this, your prediction is simply the opposite of what we thought. We thought they evolved a headless layout from a known bilateral origin, but maybe they didn't. And that is the correct answer. Let's go find it. I haven't seen this in a while, so let me find it. Contrary to belief, rather than eliminating going headless, they actually evolved to. Okay, this part you have to infer. It's not in the text, but consists primarily of a head region that is only in anterior genes, and posterior genes are limited. Okay, and that is the answer there. You have to go back to the assumption. Yeah, I even said the word assumption, right? I said the word assumption without even looking at the answer choices. Yes, that is how you get the answer there. Is this a good question? I don't know if I would consider this. I would say they're deliberately a little bit obtuse. The College Board is being deliberately a little hard for hardness' sake on this question. So I don't think this is a very clean question. Well, I think it's a little janky on purpose, and I don't love that the College Board is doing it that way. But I get why they're doing it that way, because they kind of promise that you're only going to get short passages, so they have to figure out some way of increasing the difficulty without increasing the length of the passages. So I kind of see why they're in a jam. On the paper SAT in the past, they wouldn't play these tricks because it was just hard enough reading a long passage that they didn't have to add on additional like confusing spice. So I don't know. I mean, is this a good question? It's better than people think. All right, most people think this is just completely unfair. It's not completely unfair. It's just a little janky because of the trunk part and the. But the techniques of threading will save you on this one. You just really need to, and then you have to remember and then you have to identify the overall structure, and you have to remember where the assumption is, and the assumption is here. And this is a huge part. This is a very important part of the passage. All right, gotta go now. I've already went 10 minutes over. I have to move on to the next part of my life. I basically work 7 days a week, so I gotta go. So. Gonna stay on top of things, but if you are interested in learning the techniques that I talked about. Wait, was I not showing? I'm tripping. Was I showing the passage while explaining it? I hope so. Oh, I was. God. Well, no, not recently. Oh, God. Okay, if I was not showing the passage while explaining it, I am so sorry. But you also really need to tell me that I'm doing that, because I'm doing this in the morning. I'm really tired. Okay, I don't know. I can't go. I gotta go. But hopefully my explanation helped. And I think I was showing the screen when I was explaining, but I don't remember anymore. Otherwise, I'll have to make some videos on these again in the future. So I'll see you guys in the next one. If you are interested in the course, though, you can learn the advanced techniques as well, like threading and like kind of the general approach that I taught. I mean, even the approach that I explained when I was doing this thing, right? Where's that post? That post that I talked about earlier. So that's all in the course. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully next week, I'll actually be very close to launching the actual thing, the app. Except, really, the main problem is I need to write a practice test. Oh my God, that's so much work. Okay. Anyway, see you guys. Until next time, keep on learning, keep on growing.